Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Soul Whispers Coming Home to You. This is episode 10, The Trauma Bond is an Addiction, and How to Break Free. One slow breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let your body arrive into this day. Whatever the week has brought you, just set it down for now. You are here, and that is enough. I'm Susan, somatic trauma-informed coach, and my other credentials are in the show notes below. I am someone who spent nearly 4 decades in a relationship built on trauma bonds, intermittent reinforcement, and walking on eggshells. And I found my own way back to myself once I finally had the language for what I was going through. 10 Sundays now, we have been together, and last week we did something important. We looked honestly at the story we have been telling and found the one that sets us free. I hope you wrote that sentence. I hope it surprised you with how true it felt. Today is different from any Sunday we've had so far. Today I give you a new tool, one that I use in my own practice, one that the research increasingly supports, and one that I wish someone had put in my hands 20 years earlier. Today we talk about the trauma bond as an addiction, about the neuroscience of why leaving felt impossible, and why missing someone who hurt you makes complete biological sense. And then we tap. If you have never heard of EFT tapping before, it is emotional freedom technique. Just stay with me. I'm going to explain exactly what it is, and I'm going to show you exactly where to tap and guide you through your first sequence. All you need are your fingertips and a willingness to try something that might feel a little strange at first, and then almost without warning, feel a relief that you didn't know your body was waiting for. Now let's begin with this episode. There was a night, not long after I left, when I stood in the kitchen and I felt something I can only describe as like a craving. Not a missing exactly, not even grief, though there was plenty of that. Something more physical than either of those. It was like a pull, a magnetic, nauseating, completely irrational pull towards picking up the phone and calling him. I knew it made no sense. I knew with complete clarity everything that relationship had cost me. I had the evidence, the professional support, the growing understanding of what had happened, and none of it touched that pull I was feeling. It sat in my chest like a withdrawal symptom, because that is precisely what it was. The trauma bond is not a love story. It is a neuroscience story. And the craving I felt in that kitchen, in that moment, was not my heart speaking. It was my dopamine system doing what dopamine systems do, seeking the next hit of a reward it had been trained to pursue. I didn't pick up the phone that night, but I want to be honest with you about what it cost not to. The physical discomfort of not reaching out, the way my body pursued its argument in sensation rather than words. My chest was tightening. I was restless. This urge to just, I've got to do it. But then I noticed I was thinking about the fun times, the laughter, the times when he made me feel so special and loved. And those feelings really made me miss him. And then, just as quickly, I remembered what many therapists will tell you to do. I reached for my list that I wrote many years ago of what he did that was hurtful, painful, and raw. It was as if I was back in that relationship, being fed lots of loving attention, and then with a flip of a switch, being reminded that I didn't do something right. I messed things up. I should wear something different. I should just shut up because my opinion didn't matter. that brought me back down from that craving. And what that craving is intermittent reinforcement. It's giving breadcrumbs of love and then taking it away. The back and the forth. Repeating that pattern over years creates the trauma bond. And I want to tell you what I know now and what I wish I had known then. That pull is not proof of love. It is proof of chemistry. And chemistry, unlike character, unlike the relationship itself, can be interrupted, can be retrained, can be calmed deliberately and effectively through the body. Now, when I was in this relationship, I had no idea that I was in a trauma bond. When I left for a few years, I could not understand why I would miss him when there were so many awful things that he had done. I felt something was wrong with me, but not until I learned how the brain works and the dopamine of the back and forth and the intermittent reinforcement did it all make sense. And this is similar to what a cult is because they provide the same triggers. They will set you up to make you feel like you are amazing, you're wonderful, you're loved. And then they will either ignore you, give you the silent treatment, be angry at you, so you become fearful. And then they turn around and they become loving again. It is a pattern that over time creates the trauma bond. Today, we are going to work on retraining the body through somatic healing and EFT tapping. And perhaps you're not in a romantic trauma bond. Not all trauma bonds are romantic. Perhaps the trauma bond you've been in is towards a family member who made you feel loved at times, but then either ignored you or belittled you, and then did turn around and love you again, and then make you feel less than, unworthy. Or even a friendship that made you feel special, and then blame you for everything and give you back nothing. Or even a coworker or a boss. A trauma bond over time with these repetitive patterns of giving and caring to neglecting and emotional abuse creates the trauma bond. And it's a simple pattern of people pleasing, of choosing the familiar pain over the unfamiliar freedom. The subconscious mind lives in patterns, and it will create a desire to go back to something, even if it's not safe, because you've done it so frequently that safety in a chaotic environment feels more comfortable than being in a relationship with someone who's treating you kindly and calm and there's peace. It's like the body doesn't know what to do with this new unfamiliar environment and will try to bring you back to the other one again, even though that it's unsafe. So you want to really recognize where you're being pulled in those directions and understand there's nothing wrong with you. It's the way the brain and the subconscious mind works. Now let's talk about the new moon in Taurus that rose on May 16th, and she is still very much alive. In fact, the window for setting intentions under this new moon runs through Tuesday, the 19th. So everything we do in today's episode lands in extraordinarily fertile soil. Taurus is the most body-grounded sign in the zodiac. It's ruled by Venus, the planet of love, beauty, and worthiness. And it governs the physical world, the senses, the earth beneath our feet, and the deep mammalian knowing that we are allowed to feel safe in our own bodies. Where Aries sparks and initiates, Taurus plants and tends. Where the fire signs ask, what do I want? Taurus asks, what do I actually need? And then builds steadily, patiently, sensationally toward it. This particular new moon is a super new moon, closer to the earth than usual, amplifying its energy significantly. And it rises with a powerful cosmic gift. Venus, Taurus's own ruling planet, forms a supportive angle to both Mars and Chiron in Aries. So Chiron, again, is the wounded healer. This alignment is a direct bridge between healing and love, between the courage to face the wound and the grace that meets us when we do. It is the cosmos saying, as you face what the trauma bond cost you, support is here. Beauty is available. A new understanding of what you deserve is arriving. The deepest invitation of the new moon in Taurus is this: you do not need to earn your safety. You do not need to earn your rest. You do not need to earn your worthiness or the right to be treated with care. Taurus teaches in the language of soil and roots and the slow, faithful growth of a well-tended need, a well-tended seed, that worthiness is not something you achieve. It is something you already are. And today, on the first day of this new Taurus lunar cycle, we give the body the most powerful tool I know for helping it finally, physically, cellularly believe that. Now let's talk about why the brain treats a toxic partner like a drug. To understand why the trauma bond feels like an addiction, why the pull's so physical, so irrational, so completely resistant to logic, you first need to understand what is happening in the brain during and after a relationship built on intermittent reinforcement. Dopamine is the brain's anticipation chemical. It is released not when reward arrives, but when the brain anticipates that reward might be coming. It's that hope. And in a relationship built on unpredictable cycles of warmth and withdrawal, the brain's dopamine system becomes extraordinarily activated. Not despite the unpredictability, but because of it. Variable reward schedules, the neuroscientific term for what the intermittent reinforcement creates, produce more dopamine activation than consistent reward. Your brain was not just attached to this person. It was addicted to the possibility of them. Now, when the relationship ends, whether you ended it or they ended it, doesn't matter. The dopamine system enters a state that is neurologically identical to drug withdrawal. Let that land. The dopamine system enters a state that's neurologically identical to drug withdrawal. The anticipated reward is no longer coming. The brain, which has been calibrated to this specific reward signal, begins sending increasingly urgent messages. Find the source, reach out, fix this. The pull you feel is not weakness. It is your dopamine system in withdrawal, doing exactly what dopamine systems in withdrawal do. You did not miss him. Your brain missed this type of drug. Understanding this distinction is not a dismissal of your feelings. It is the most compassionate and accurate explanation for why leaving was so physically, unbearably hard. Now, while the dopamine system creates the craving, the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, creates the urgency. So in a relationship where emotional safety was chronically unpredictable, the amygdala learned to read the other person's emotional state as the primary signal of safety or danger. When he was calm, the threat signal lowered. When he was volatile, the threat signal spiked. And over time, through thousands of repetitions, the amygdala learned to associate the presence of this person with the management of the threat signal itself. His moods became the nervous system's weather system. Regulating him became the nervous system's primary strategy for regulating itself. So after the relationship ends, The amygdala does something that seems paradoxical from the outside, but makes complete neurological sense. It continues to monitor for him, not because he's a threat anymore, but because the nervous system has not yet learned that that threat has ended. And the hypervigilance continues. The scanning continues. In the absence of the person who was, however destructively, the nervous system's primary regulator creates a state the amygdala interprets as danger. This is why the urge to reach out feels frantic rather than simply sad. The amygdala is not sending the message, I miss him. It's sending the message, the source of safety regulation is gone. This is an emergency. You must find it. You must fix it. Now, because of all this happening in the body, in the nervous system, in the neurochemistry, in the stress response, the pull does not arrive as a thought. It actually arrives as a sensation, perhaps a tightening in the chest, that deep drop you feel in your gut, a heaviness behind the sternum, a restlessness in the arms and the hands, or even the legs. The body literally preparing to reach, an agitation that has no verbal content, but an overwhelming physical urgency. This is the key insight for everything that follows today. The pull is a body event, not a mind event. And because it's a body event, it can be interrupted at the body level, not by thinking differently, not by reminding yourself of all the reasons you should not reach out, but by sending a direct physical neurological signal to the amygdala that says, the threat has passed. You are safe. You can stand down. That signal is what EFT tapping sends. And that is why it works where willpower alone so often fails. So let's talk about EFT. Again, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also called tapping because the core practice involves gently tapping on specific points on the face and body with your fingertips while focusing on the emotional or physical experience you want to address. It was developed by Gary Craig in the 90s, drawing on the acupressure meridian system of traditional Chinese medicine and the psychological exposure techniques of Western therapy. It has since been the subject of over 300 published research studies, and the same results are remarkable. A landmark study showed that a single session of EFT tapping reduced cortisol, the primary stress hormone, by an average of 24%, compared to 14% for talk therapy. So here's the neuroscience of why it works in plain language. When you tap on a specific acupressure point using EFT, you are stimulating sensory receptors that send a signal through the nervous system directly to the amygdala, the brain's threat center. That signal is a calming one. It says, touch is happening. The body is being attended to. There is no danger here. And at the same time, you are holding in mind the distressing thought or physical sensation, the pull, the craving, the grief of the bond. So the brain is receiving two simultaneous messages, the stressful thought and the calming body signal. Research shows that this combination, the mental focus and the physical calming, creates what's called a contradictory experience in the midbrain. And that contradictory experience disrupts the stress response. The amygdala begins to lower its activation. Cortisol drops. The body shifts from fight or flight into something closer to calm. Now, EFT is not denying the feeling. It does not tell your body that the grief is not real or the pull's not there. It says to the nervous system, I see this. I'm holding this. And I'm also safe. And both things are true. Now, before we do our first sequence together, I want to show you exactly where the tapping points are. So I'm going to share these points once so you can find each point on your body, and then we'll tap together. Now, I'm also placing a guide in the show notes below so you can clearly see the tapping points. So you're going to use 2 or 3 fingertips, and you're going to tap firmly but gently, and about 7 taps on each point. You can use either hand, either side of your face and body. Both sides work equally. Now, the first tapping point is what we call the karate chop. It is the outer edge of either hand, between the little finger and the wrist. This is where we begin what we call the setup statement. And then we have the eyebrow. And this part is the inner edge of the eyebrow just above and to the side of the nose. And then we have the side of the eye. That is on the bone at the outer corner of the eye toward the temple. Then we do under the eye, on the bone directly under the eye. It's usually aligned with the pupil. Then we do under the nose, which is the small groove between the bottom of the nose and the top of the lip. Then we do the chin, which is the indentation between the bottom lip and the chin. And then we have the collarbone, just below the collarbone, about 1 inch from the center of the chest. And then under your arm, about 4 inches below the armpit on each side of the body. So you can choose either side. And then we have the top of the head, which is the crown. You do not need to memorize them perfectly. Just become familiar with where they are. And I guarantee you, after a few rounds of tapping, your hands will find them naturally. And it's okay if you go out of sequence. It's not about the sequence you're using, it's the parts you're tapping. So if you were to think of throwing a pebble in a calm lake, you notice it ripples. So that's similar to what we're doing. When they do acupressure and they put needles in the body, it's stimulating the meridian, kind of like a clogged drain, and it opens it up the energy to flow better. So this is kind of what you could consider tapping, but without the needles. So you're tapping on the meridian point. You are sending out that vibrational signal that ripples through the body, but it also pushes the energy through to open up for it to flow better. So let's begin. But before we do, I do want to bring to mind that whatever's bothering you that you'd like to release, for those of you who are dealing with a trauma bond, it might be the desire to reach out to that pull or that craving. But if you're dealing with something different, you can go ahead and work on that as well. I might be focusing on the trauma bond for the setup statement, but you can reword it as you need to. So the magnetic force that has made reaching out feel urgent or necessary would be something we'd focus on. You do not need to think about this person specifically or whatever you want to release today. Just locate the feeling in your body. Where does it live right now? Is it in your chest or your stomach, your heart, your throat? And what I'd like to do first is have you give the intensity of what you're feeling when you think about this person or situation a number from 0 to 10. 0 is you feel nothing. 10 is you are overwhelmed. Just notice the number. Don't overthink it. Whatever number comes to you first, just hold on to that. We'll check again after we tap. So let's start with the setup statement. I want you to start tapping with one hand using your fingertips on the karate chop point of the opposite hand. Tap continuously while repeating the setup statement 3 times. So this acknowledges the feeling while establishing a foundation of self-acceptance. So as you're tapping the karate chop point, we're going to say, even though I feel this pull, this magnetic draw towards someone who hurt me, I deeply and completely accept myself. And if that feels too big to say, we can try, even though I feel this pull in my body and I do not fully understand it, I am open to finding some peace. Let's say that again. Even though I feel this pull in my body and I do not fully understand it, I am open to finding some peace. Now we're going to move through the tapping points in order, repeating a short phrase at each point. These phrases name what's true without judgment, and we're going to tap about 7 times on each point. So let's go to the eyebrow, which is going to be the inner eyebrow closer to your nose. And we're going to state as we're tapping, this pull in my chest, this pull in my chest, this pull in my chest. Now we're going to go to the outside of the eye by the temple, this craving that makes no logical sense. This craving that makes no logical sense. This craving that makes no logical sense. Now let's go under your eye. This body that keeps reaching. This body that keeps reaching. This body that keeps reaching. And now under your nose, this withdrawal that the mind cannot reason with. This withdrawal that the mind cannot reason with. This withdrawal that the mind cannot reason with. Now let's go to the chin. My brain learned to call this feeling home. My brain learned to call this feeling home. Keep tapping on the chin. My brain learned to call this feeling home. And now we're going to tap the collarbone. You can do both or one. My amygdala is still scanning for him. My amygdala is still scanning for him. My amygdala is still scanning for him. And now we're going to go under the arm, either side. This pull is not love, it is chemistry. Keep tapping. This pull is not love, it is chemistry. This pull is not love, it is chemistry. And now we're going to go to the top of the head. And chemistry can change. Tapping the top of the head, right at the crown of your head. And chemistry can change. And now we're going to shift the signal. We're going to do a second round, moving from acknowledgement towards safety. Same points in same order. We're going to go to the eyebrow by the nose, and we're tapping. What if my nervous system could learn something new? What if my nervous system could learn something new? Now go to the outside of your eye by the temple. What if the amygdala could receive a different message? What if the amygdala could receive a different message? Now under your eye, I am safe right now. In this body, in this moment, I am safe right now. In this body, in this moment. And now under your nose, the threat has passed. I do not need to reach out to feel safe. The threat has passed. I do not need to reach out to feel safe. Now go to your chin, continue tapping. I can regulate myself. I always could. I can regulate myself. I always could. And now go to your collarbone. My body is learning a new definition of home. My body is learning a new definition of home. And now under your arm, I am sending my nervous system a calm signal right now. I am sending my nervous system a calm signal right now. And now go to the crown of your head, the very top of your head, tapping, and my nervous system is beginning to receive it. And my nervous system is beginning to receive it. And now we're going to do the last tapping round, installing peace. It's the final round. It's slower, it's more spacious, and we're installing the new message. Taking that breath in and out. And let's begin by tapping on the inner eyebrow by the nose. I choose to release the charge around this bond. I choose to release the charge around this bond. Going to the outside of your eye by the temple, not to deny the love that was real. Not to deny the love that was real. And now tap under your eye, but to release the chemistry that was keeping me hooked. But to release the chemistry that was keeping me hooked. And now under your nose, my body deserves peace more than it deserves the familiar pull. My body deserves peace more than it deserves the familiar pull. And now tap on your chin. I am worthy of a nervous system that knows it's safe. I am worthy of a nervous system that knows it's safe. And now go to your collarbone. God, the universe, source, are holding me in this moment. God, the universe, and source are holding me in this moment. And now under your arm, tapping, the whisper from my soul is louder than the craving. The whisper from my soul is louder than the craving. And then to the crown, the top of your head, tapping, I am coming home to myself one tap at a time. I am coming home to myself one tap at a time. And now relax your hands and take a long, slow, deep breath using the vagal breathing. In for 4, hold for 2, and a slow breath out through your mouth for 7. And just relax your shoulders, maybe move your neck around a little bit. And now cross your arms over your chest and begin to alternate tapping on each shoulder, very slowly and gently. We call this the butterfly hug. By alternating the tapping on each shoulder, you are bilaterally tapping into somatic healing. And breathe. Just feel that hug. And now you can relax your arms. And let's check that number again. The intensity of the pull from 0 to 10. For most people, it has shifted. It may have dropped several points. It may feel softer, less urgent, slightly more distant. And if it hasn't shifted much, that's completely normal for a first round as well, because tapping is a practice. But each round builds on the last. So feel free to do this as often as needed. It does work wonders for calming the nervous system and creating a shift that stays. You have just sent your amygdala a calming signal, possibly for the first time in years. What you felt during the tapping, however subtle, was your nervous system beginning to learn something new. And that's not small. That is the beginning of freedom. Now, since we're in the new moon of Taurus, here's what we need to plant. The intention window for this new moon runs through Tuesday, May 19th. So anytime before the 19th and even on the 19th is perfect. This new moon just gave your nervous system something it may not have felt in a very long time, a calming signal, a moment of regulation, the beginning of the chemistry changing. And now, from that calmer, more grounded place, you are in the most powerful possible state for planting new moon intentions. The Taurus earth receives seeds that come from the body, not just the mind. So sit quietly with your feet on the floor if you can, and your hand over your heart. Take 3 slow breaths and feel the earth beneath you. Even if you're not outside, just visualize your feet having these roots that grow through the floors and down into the soil beneath the place that you're in. Feel the patience and the faithfulness that the Taurus ground offers you. And then I'd like you to write your intentions by hand on a piece of paper and then speak them out loud. Taurus responds to the physical, to the weight of the pen, to the sound of the voice, to the sensation of the body as the words land. So let's talk about safety in the body and see if you feel comfortable repeating this after me. I am planting the seed of a body that knows it is safe. A nervous system that is learning tap by tap, breath by breath, that the threat has passed and the present is safe. And then what about worthiness without condition? I am planting the seed of a worthiness that does not need to be earned. I am enough right now, in this body, as I am, without performing or pleasing or making myself smaller to deserve love. Freedom from the bond. I am planting the seed of a nervous system that no longer mistakes the old chemistry for love. I am becoming free from the addictive pull. Each time I tap, each time I choose not to reach out, I am growing this freedom. And let's give it a new definition of home. I am planting the seed of a new definition of home. One that lives inside me, in the steadiness of my own breath, the faithfulness of my own heartbeat, the ground beneath my feet. Home is here. It has always been here. I am coming back to it. I am coming back to me. I am planting the seed of peace as my new normal. Not the absence of feeling, but the presence of steadiness. A life where the quiet feels safe, where calm feels like home, where I am not waiting for the next storm, because I have finally learned there is no storm coming. Now you may choose one of these that we just stated or write your own, but make sure you write it by hand and say it out loud. And place your hand on your heart as you do that, and then tend to it. The blue moon arrives May 31st, 2 weeks from now, and what you plant today will be ready for its first flowering. Now, I want to say something to the part of you that still may feel the pull, even after everything you understand about it. Knowing why the pull exists does not make it go away immediately. The neuroscience explains it. The tapping begins to shift it. But the body takes time, and there will be days, particularly in the beginning, And when a trigger arrives unexpectedly, when the pull feels as strong as it ever did. In those days, they're not evidence of failure. They are evidence of how deeply the bond was wired. And the appropriate response to them, it's not self-criticism. It's tapping, slow, deep breaths. Again, as many times as the pull resurfaces, because each round of tapping is another calming signal that you can give your nervous system, another message to the amygdala that the threat has passed, another repetition of the new neural pathway you're building. God, the universe and source, the intelligence that's been guiding your healing from the beginning, wove into the human nervous system the capacity to change. Neuroplasticity is not a metaphor, it's biology. Your brain is literally capable of building new pathways, rewiring its reward responses, and learning a new definition of safe. This is how you were made, with the built-in capacity to heal. The whisper from your soul that brought you here, to this episode, to this practice, to this moment you tapped on your own collarbone and said, "I'm worthy of peace," well, that whisper was not random. It was guidance. It has been guiding you toward this tool, this practice, this Sunday for longer than you know. So keep tapping. The freedom is on the other side of the chemistry, and the chemistry is already beginning to change. So let's begin your guided meditation. Settle yourself into your position, feet on the floor if possible, and hands in your lap. And take one slow breath in through your nose and a long exhale through your mouth. And with that exhale, let the tapping continue to work in your body. You don't have to tap, but just let that vibration flow through your body. The signal you sent during the sequence is still moving through your nervous system, calming the amygdala, still teaching the body something new. You have done something significant today. You have given your body a tool, and your body is already responding to it. Now notice the ground beneath your feet, the solid, patient earth of Taurus season, holding you without condition, without demand, without requiring anything of you except to receive. And notice beneath the ground, beneath the body, beneath the nervous system that is slowly, faithfully learning something new, the presence that has been here through all of it. God, the universe, source, the intelligence that wired neuroplasticity into your brain before you were born, that gave you a nervous system capable of healing, that has been guiding you through every episode, every practice, every Sunday, toward exactly this moment where the body finally has a tool equal to the wound. Know that you are held lovingly and completely. Let that be felt in your body, not just understood in your mind. And breathe. Now bring your awareness to the place in your body where you feel that pull. Perhaps it's in the chest or the belly or the throat. Wherever you have felt the weight of this type of bond that keeps you stuck, begin to notice its quality. And after you did the tapping, after the calming signal, after the first round of a practice that will continue to work each time you return to it, is it different from when we began, even slightly? Notice the texture and the temperature of the urgency. Is it softer? Is it gone? Notice what's there now. And I want to invite you to see something in your inner eye. Imagine that pull as an object, something with size and shape and weight, and give it color. It has been sitting in your chest. What does it look like? See it clearly. And then, with the gentleness of intentions, without force, begin to notice it changing. It does not need to disappear, but it softens and it can lighten. The color can shift towards something less dense, less urgent. The edges can become less defined. As your nervous system continues to receive the calming signal that you brought into your body from the tapping you did today, and as the amygdala continues to lower its alert, and as the dopamine system begins slowly, session by session, to recalibrate, the pull is becoming less magnetic, not all at once, but steadily each time you choose to tap. Now I want to show you something about your own future. Imagine a moment 3 months from now, or 6, or whenever it arrives, when that pull comes again, that trigger, maybe from a song, a smell, an unexpected memory. And instead of the frantic urgency of the withdrawal response, you notice the sensation in your chest, and you place your hand there, and you begin to gently tap. You tap on your eyebrow, see it in your mind, tapping on your inner eye, on your temple, under your nose, your chin, your collarbone, under your arm, in the crown of your head. And breathe. And you begin to feel the signal moving through your nervous system, calming, bringing peace and relaxation and grounding, and sending the amygdala the message it's been waiting to receive. The threat has passed. I am safe. I am safe. I am regulated. I do not need the source of the bond to feel safe. I am my own source of safety. And breathe. That version of you exists. She is being built right now, tap by tap, Sunday by Sunday, and breath by breath. She's not a distant possibility. She is the direction you are already moving in. Now see yourself in a beautiful garden, planting those seeds, the seeds you desire for your future, knowing that you will tend to them every single day, giving them love and attention, believing them, feeling them in your body, feeling the joy you would feel if they were already here, and giving gratitude every single day for what is already in your life, even the small things. And even as you say that, you look back at your garden and you can see the seeds starting to sprout. Just by saying a few things you're grateful for, they start to sprout bigger and bigger, knowing that when you come back to check on them in a few weeks, they'll be blooming as long as you tend to them, sending them love, knowing that you are worth it and anything you desire is here for you. Now bring your hand to your heart and feel the steady beat beneath your palm. The whisper from your soul was never random. It was guidance. It was the voice of something larger than the bond, larger than the chemistry, larger than any amount of years a nervous system calibrated to someone else's unpredictability. And this whisper from your soul is calling you back home. And it brought you here, to these tapping points, to the moment your body received the first signal of a freedom it has been moving toward for longer than you know. Keep tapping every week, anytime the pull arrives, even if it's just 30 seconds, even if it's just 2 rounds. Each tap is a vote for the new nervous system. Each session is another message to the amygdala that the threat is in the past and the present is safe. You are not breaking a bond. You're becoming free. Now slowly and gently feel the room returning, settling into your body, feeling your feet on the ground. One final breath in through your nose and a long exhale through your mouth. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. 10 Sundays, and today your body has a new tool. Every time the pull arrives, you have the tapping tool. Every time the chest tightens and the hands want to reach for the phone, even 1 round, even 30 seconds, the amygdala is listening. Your nervous system is learning, and the dopamine loop is beginning to lose its grip. Now, next Sunday in episode 11, we go somewhere that may be the most gentle and transformative place this series has been so far. We begin exploring internal family systems, IFS, a framework that does something no other approach quite does. It says that every part of you, even the parts that stayed too long, the parts that still miss him, the parts that people pleased and fawned and disappeared, and every single one of them deserves to be met with curiosity, not judgment. And that conversation begins next Sunday. You can find me here every week offering you a safe place to land. Now, if today reached something in you, if you felt the pull of the trauma bond in your body while we were tapping and knew that this work goes deeper than any Sunday episode can take you, I'm here. I offer private one-to-one sessions with packages available with discounts. I combine many things: the tapping we did today, somatic trauma-informed coaching, inner child work, internal family systems, nervous system regulation, personalized guided meditations, and Reiki. And I put this all into practice that is entirely yours. You do not have to break this bond alone. I'm here to walk this path with you when you are ready. And if you'd like to just book a free discovery call, the link is in the show notes below. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, did you feel any type of shift today when we were tapping, even if it was just a small one? A slight loosening in your chest, a breath that came easier, a moment where the pull felt less magnetic? Tell me what you noticed. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to read. Now, if Soul Whispers is part of your healing, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you have subscribed, and if you haven't, please do so you don't miss a Sunday. And if you leave a thumbs up today, it will help tremendously, and share this with one person who's still wondering why they are missing someone who hurt them. This episode will answer that question for them. My goal is to get this information out to as many people as possible so they can start healing as well. And the way to do that is to comment, thumbs up, and subscribe. Thank you for spending time with me. Until next week, love and hugs.